McDonald's is facing serious warnings across Britain after the UK's equality watchdog issued a stark message to all 1,400 branches.
300,000 people in the UK get food poisoning from chicken every single year. The NHS calls it an epidemic. More than half of those cases are linked to the same handful of chains you are probably ordering from this week. Britain has a chicken problem. We eat more poultry per person than almost any other nation in Europe, and a significant proportion of it comes from chains with documented hygiene failures, Campylobacter risks, and nutritional profiles that bear no relationship to the marketing on the wall. Some have been flagged by inspectors repeatedly, some have had prosecutions, millions of people are still walking in every week, 8 chains you should think twice about, 3 that are genuinely worth your money. All of it on public record. Let's go. 1. KFC. Sanders sold KFC in 1964 for $2 million. He remained the brand's spokesperson. And for the rest of his life, he made unannounced visits to restaurants across America and Britain, tasting the food and publicly describing what he found. The gravy, he said, was made by buying tap water for 15 cents per 1,000 gallons and mixing it with flour and starch. He called it an insult to his original recipe. A KFC executive admitted the original gravy was dropped because, and this is a direct quote, you had to be a Rhodes Scholar to cook it. The Colonel's response, in a Kentucky newspaper, was that the new version was not fit for his dogs. KFC sued him. He won. In the UK, the story has additional layers. BBC Watchdog tested ice served at KFC restaurants and found that 7 out of 10 samples were contaminated with fecal bacteria. Not traces, significant levels. Multiple UK branches have received SAR hygiene ratings of 0, 1 and 2, with inspectors documenting fryer extraction systems that had not been cleaned, pest activity and documentation failures. One East London branch was the subject of an environmental health prosecution after inspectors found rat droppings and a rat hole worn smooth in the kitchen floor, smooth from regular use. Then there is the salt. A 3-piece KFC meal contains over 3.5 grams of sodium, above the NHS's entire recommended daily maximum for an adult. The 11 herbs and spices are famous. The sodium content is not on any billboard. The Colonel's face smiles down from the signage. He would not have been smiling. 2. Nando's. You got the window table. The chicken arrives glossy and charred, and it looks exactly like the photograph. Nando's has spent 30 years perfecting the art of making fast food feel like a proper evening out. Now here is what is happening to that chicken before it reaches the grill. Campylobacter, the most common cause of food poisoning in Britain, lives almost exclusively in poultry. It survives when chicken is stored at the wrong temperature or not cooked to a sufficient core temperature. The peri-peri marinade does not kill bacteria. Heat does. And if the chicken arrives at the grill already compromised by improper cold storage, the cooking process may not be enough. A number of Nando's branches across the UK have received hygiene ratings of 2 and below, with the primary failure category being temperature control of marinated meat. The food poisoning complaint database for Nando's UK locations runs to hundreds of reported incidents. And then there is the salt. A full Nando's chicken, the thing the whole table shares and feels virtuous about compared to a burger, contains over 7 grams of sodium. The NHS daily maximum for an adult is 6 grams. One shared chicken, the whole table's daily allowance. Gone, the sodium figures are published. In small print, if you know how to find them, they are not on the chalkboard. 3. Chicken Cottage. The orange signage. The laminated meal deal cards. Chicken Cottage operates dozens of locations across England, predominantly in London and the Midlands, and has positioned itself as the British alternative to the American chains. Cheaper, more local. On every high street. 1 in 5 Chicken Cottage shops has had hygiene concerns flagged by inspectors from analysis of SAR data, and the chain's own CEO acknowledged it publicly, describing himself as disappointed. Multiple branches have received ratings of 0 and 1 across successive inspection cycles, not one-off failures. Repeat visits. Repeat failures. Inspectors have documented rodent droppings, cockroach activity, and food stored at unsafe temperatures. The CEO said the company demanded the highest standards and had robust systems in place. The FSA database said otherwise. Budget fried chicken at this level of the market is frequently a composite product reformed, shaped, seasoned, with a chicken content that may be significantly lower than the portion implies. There is no published nutritional information across most of the chicken cottage estate. For customers eating this food regularly, that absence is a genuine public health gap. 4. Dixy Chicken. If you live in a British city, you have walked past a Dixy Chicken. The queue moves fast. The price is low. On a Tuesday night when you are tired and it is the closest thing open, it makes a certain kind of sense. What inspectors have found inside those kitchens does not make sense at all. Multiple Dixy Chicken branches have received the lowest possible SAR ratings on multiple occasions. Not one branch. Not one inspection cycle. A sustained pattern across the estate. Inspectors have documented mice, cockroaches, flies in active food preparation areas, food stored directly on floors, and in most cases no evidence that any food safety management system had ever been implemented, not a failing one, not an inadequate one, but none at all. Dixy Chicken operates predominantly in areas of high social deprivation postcodes where there are fewer supermarkets, fewer alternatives, and lower average incomes. Research from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine has identified a direct correlation between the density of budget fast food outlets and rates of type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease in those same communities. Dixy Chicken is not the cause of that, but it is operating inside it, from kitchens that government inspectors have condemned, serving food with no published nutritional information, to people who in many cases have no better option nearby. 5. Perfect Fried Chicken, PFC. PFC occupies the same market space as Dixy and Chicken Cottage budget, urban, franchise-operated, and its SAR record is, if anything, worse. 0 ratings are not rare across the PFC estate. They are common. Inspectors have found structural hygiene failures, meaning the buildings themselves are in a physical condition that makes adequate cleaning impossible regardless of effort or intent. Pest activity across multiple categories, temperature failures, missing documentation at every level. What makes PFC additionally troubling is something that is not there rather than something that is. No published calorie information, no accessible allergen tool, no nutritional data of any kind. A customer with a food allergy, a child in tow, or a health condition requiring dietary management is walking into a PFC with nothing. Natasha's Law, named after a 15-year-old who died after eating a product with undeclared ingredients, made full allergen labeling a legal requirement for pre-packaged food in 2021. PFC's response to the broader spirit of that legislation has been silence. 6. McDonald's. McDonald's chicken products, the McChicken sandwich, the McNuggets, the crispy chicken wrap, are among the most ordered items in the UK estate. A 6-piece McNuggets with medium fries and a Coke delivers over 850 calories and more than 2 grams of salt before you have added a dip. The McNugget itself, one of the most popular children's food items in Britain, is a processed composite of chicken meat, skin and filler formed into a shape that bears no obvious relationship to any part of a chicken's anatomy. McDonald's has responded to chicken welfare questions with promotional videos showing chickens in good conditions at supplier farms. In one documented case, investigators filmed conditions at a supplier farm described as overcrowding, widespread disease, and no environmental enrichment. McDonald's said it had strong standards. The footage said something different. And then there is the separate crisis unfolding inside the restaurants. Over 700 current and former McDonald's employees in the UK have taken legal action against the chain over a culture of sexual harassment and assault. The BBC investigation found workers as young as 17 being routinely groped by managers. The UK equality watchdog has intervened twice. The CEO was summoned to Parliament twice. On the second occasion, he confirmed the chain was still receiving 1 to 2 harassment allegations from workers every single week. 7. Greggs. This one is harder to say, because Greggs is genuinely beloved. The queue on a cold morning. The sausage roll still warm from the bag. There is something almost affectionate about its place in British culture, the idea that it is just simple, honest, working-class food. It is not dishonest food. But the distance between what Greggs is and what Greggs implies about itself is worth examining. Branches in Birmingham, Leeds and parts of London have repeatedly received hygiene ratings of 1 and 2. The same failure categories appear again and again: temperature control, equipment cleanliness, pest activity. With 2,500 outlets, some inconsistency is inevitable. But when the same categories fail across different locations and different inspection cycles, that is a systems issue, not a bad luck issue. The sausage roll contains nearly a gram of salt, the steak bake is over 400 calories. Greggs has a better choices menu. They know exactly what is in the food. But the marketing warm, nostalgic, unpretentious tells a story about simplicity that the nutritional data complicates significantly. Greggs is not the worst on this list. But it might be the most surprising entry. 8. Burger King. It is a retail park car park. The kids want something. You order chicken, the crispy chicken royale, the nuggets, the plant-based option because the packaging makes it look like a more conscious choice. Here is what independent analysts found when they tested the plant-based chicken royale. Comparable levels of saturated fat to the chicken version. Similar sodium. The health halo implied by the words plant-based is not supported by the numbers on the back of the box. You are not eating better, you are eating different. Burger King's hygiene record at UK sites, particularly in transport hubs and retail parks, includes multiple branches receiving low EFSA ratings, with inspectors finding blocked drainage, pest activity, and unsafe food storage temperatures. Then, there is the ice. BBC Watchdog tested ice at fast food chains across Britain. At Burger King, 6 out of 10 samples came back contaminated with fecal coliform bacteria. Experts attributed it to poor hand washing and ice machines not cleaned with sufficient regularity. Burger King said cleanliness was a priority. They continued using the same machines. The 3 worth trusting. 1. Chipotle. Chipotle has built its entire UK proposition on transparency. Every item has a fully accessible nutritional breakdown. The food is prepared visibly in front of you from identifiable ingredients. SAR ratings across the UK estate are consistently among the highest of any chain in Britain. The Behind the Foil campaign, inviting customers to see exactly what goes into the food, was one of the most genuinely honest pieces of fast food communication this industry has produced. You do not have to like every item on the menu, but you can make an informed decision about every item on the menu. That distinction matters. 2. Tortilla. Tortilla is the quiet success story of British fast food, a Mexican-inspired chain built and operated entirely in the UK with an SAR record that puts most of the chains on the first half of this list to shame. Ratings across the estate are almost uniformly excellent. Inspectors consistently find well-run kitchens, proper temperature management, and food safety documentation that is not just present but functioning. The food is straightforward, whole ingredients, visible preparation, no reformed composites. You can watch it being made. Tortilla does not have KFC's marketing budget or Nando's cultural footprint. It has something more valuable. A kitchen it is not ashamed of. 3. Leon. Leon made a specific and unusual promise when it launched that fast food could be genuinely good for you. Naturally raised meat. Whole ingredients, no refined sugars in the core range. Transparent sourcing. And crucially, the hygiene standards across its estate reflect that brand promise rather than contradicting it. Leon was among the first chains in Britain to voluntarily adopt full calorie labelling before it was legally required. Its menus are built around actual nutritional principles, not just the removal of the most obviously harmful ingredients. The gap between what Leon says and what Leon does is smaller than almost any other chain in this industry. In a market full of promises that do not survive contact with a food hygiene inspection, that is worth saying clearly. The FIFSA database is searchable by postcode. It takes 30 seconds. Check it before you order. This channel will keep telling you what is on the record and which 3 are actually worth walking into. See you next time.